You're sitting in a dealership showroom. The salesman seems friendly, helpful. He asks you a simple question. So, what are you looking to spend per month? Or maybe it's, when do you need to have a car by? Or, what do you think about this one? And you answer. Because it seems rude not to. Because the question seems harmless. It isn't. No. And I know what you might be thinking. I've bought cars before. I'm not naive. I know how this works. And you're not wrong. But the industry has changed. Salespeople today are trained specifically on what questions to ask experienced buyers. Questions that sound conversational. Questions that extract exactly the information they need to control the negotiation before it even starts. I spent 6 years in sales and another 6 running sales teams. I trained salespeople on these exact questions. I taught them what to listen for and what it meant when a buyer said certain things. Every word you say on that sales floor gets processed. Not because salespeople are bad people, most of them aren't, but because they're trained, and the training works. I used to tell my sales team this: the first person to talk about money loses. If the buyer mentions budget first, timeline first, enthusiasm first, the deal is halfway done before we even start the paperwork. That wasn't me being clever. That was industry standard training from the 1980s that's still being taught today. What I'm going to show you is the 6 things you should never say to a car salesman and what to say instead. Not because you're trying to trick anyone, because you're trying to stay on even ground with someone who's been trained to tilt the table. You don't need to remember complicated scripts. You don't need to become an expert negotiator. You just need to stop volunteering the 3 pieces of information every dealership is trained to extract from you: how desperate you are, how much you'll pay, and how much you know. Those simple questions I mentioned at the beginning, the friendly ones, each one is designed to answer one of those 3 questions. And once the salesman has those answers, the negotiation is already over. You just don't know it yet. The first phrase you need to avoid is anything about your timeline. I need to be out of here by 4. I only have an hour. I've got an appointment at 6. You've got things to do. Doctor's appointment at 4. Grandkids coming over at 6. It feels natural to mention it. You're being polite. You're managing expectations. The moment you give a deadline, the salesperson walks to the sales manager's office and says, "Time pressure, 4 p.m." That manager now knows exactly how to pace the negotiation. They'll slow walk the first 45 minutes with small talk and test drives and "let me check with my manager." Then at 3:45, when you're anxious and watching the clock, they'll come back with their real offer. Most people take it because they can't stay any longer. I've got all afternoon. Even if you don't. Especially if you don't. Time pressure is one of the oldest closing tools in sales. Remove it, and you remove their leverage. If they think you can walk away and come back tomorrow, they negotiate differently. To be fair, not every salesperson uses this tactic deliberately. Some are just making conversation. The second phrase is worse. My current car just died. I need a car by Monday. The mechanic told me it's not worth fixing. This is the truth. Your car is in the shop with a blown transmission, or it won't start, or you just got the repair estimate and it's more than the car is worth. The dealership seems like the fastest solution. Why wouldn't you explain the situation? If they think you can walk away and come back tomorrow, they negotiate differently. Every salesperson I ever trained was taught to ask, "What brings you in today?" for exactly this reason. I had a guy named Harold sit down at my desk 15 years ago. Retired school teacher. His Camry had been rear-ended the week before, totaled by insurance. He told me this in the first 5 minutes. Friendly, conversational. He needed a car to get to his wife's dialysis appointments. I walked that deal to my sales manager, and before I even said the numbers, the manager asked, "Does he need it?" I said yes. The manager said, "Then he's paying sticker." That's how it works. When they ask what brings you in, you say this: "Just looking at options." That's it. You're exploring. You're not in a rush. Even if your car is on a tow truck in the parking lot. The word is considering. I'm considering a few vehicles. I'm considering this dealership and 2 others. I'm considering a few vehicles. I'm considering this dealership and 2 others. consider all day long. The third phrase sounds harmless. I love this truck. This is exactly what I've been looking for. I've wanted one of these my whole life. The right color, the right options, clean Carfax. You're excited. Why hide it? Enthusiasm kills your negotiating position. I'm not saying be rude. When a buyer walks onto my lot and says, I've wanted one of these my whole life, I know they're paying full price. When they say, this is the one, I know they're not shopping around. That truck costs more now than it did 10 minutes ago, and the buyer just did it to themselves. You keep your face neutral. You say this, it's fine. I'm looking at a few others. Salespeople are trained to mirror your energy. If you're excited, they slow down. They've already got you. If you're indifferent, they work harder. You want them working harder. And if you're over 60, listen carefully here, because your generation was raised to be polite, to answer when asked, to not waste people's time. If this is helping, do me a favor and hit subscribe. This is what I do now. The first three phrases are about giving away your position, your timeline, your desperation, your enthusiasm. The fourth phrase is the one that sounds the most practical. What's my monthly payment going to be? This seems like the smart question. You're on a fixed income. You've got a budget. You need to know if you can afford it. What's wrong with asking? This is the golden question for every car salesman in America. The moment you ask about monthly payment first, before asking about the price of the car, before asking about the interest rate, before asking about the trade-in value, you've just told the dealership to structure the entire deal around one number. And that number hides everything. Here's how it works. You say you can afford $400 a month. The salesman goes to his manager. They don't start with the price of the car. They start with $400 and work backwards. They stretch the loan to 72 months so the payment fits. They mark up the interest rate 2 points because you never asked what it was. They lowball your trade-in because it all blends into the same monthly number. They add gap insurance and an extended warranty and paint protection. $4,800 of add-ons that don't change the payment enough for you to notice because they just stretch the loan to 75 months. You drive off the lot thinking you got your $400 payment. What you actually got was a $32,000 car sold to you for $41,000, financed at 9% instead of 5.5%, on a loan that won't be paid off for 6 years. I watched this happen 3 times a week for a decade. A woman named Dorothy sat down in my finance office, 71 years old, bought a Buick Encore. I asked her if she was happy with the deal. She said, they got me to $400 a month, so yes. I looked at the paperwork. The car was listed at $26,000. With her trade-in, fees, and add-ons, she financed $34,000. The loan was 78 months. 78! She'd be 83 when it was paid off. I helped write that contract. I'm not proud of it. I'm telling you so you don't let it happen to you. When they ask what payment you're looking for, you say this. I'm more focused on the total price and the interest rate. We can figure out the payment after that. Force them to negotiate the car price first, separately, then the trade-in value, separately, then the interest rate, separately. Only after all three are locked in do you talk about monthly payment. You've just taken away their primary tool. They can't hide the numbers in the payment anymore. Everything is visible. Listen, the 4-square worksheet they use, the one with boxes for payment, price, trade-in, and down payment. That's not a worksheet. It's a shell game. The whole point is to make you focus on one number while they adjust the other 3. Don't play it. The 5th phrase is you doing their job for them. My trade-in is probably worth about $3,000. It's got high miles, so I'm thinking maybe 4. Your truck is 10 years old. It's got some dings, high miles. You looked it up on Kelley Blue Book and saw a range. You mentioned the lower end because you're being realistic. You don't want to seem greedy. The dealership will gladly agree with you. If you say your trade is worth $3,000, they'll appraise it at $3,000, even if they know they can auction it for $5,500 next week. You just saved them $2,500. They didn't lie. They didn't pressure you. You anchored yourself low, and they let you. When they ask what you think your trade is worth, you say this: "I'd like to hear your appraisal first." Make them commit to a number before you show your hand. Then, if their number is low, you counter. But you never open low. I'll be fair, trade-in values are subjective. Condition matters. Market matters. But if you're going to get lowballed, make them do it to your face. Don't do it for them. The sixth phrase sounds like it should help you. "I'm paying cash." Or mentioning your credit score unprompted. "My credit score is 780, so I should qualify for a good rate." You saved. You're proud of it. You've got the cash ready, or your credit score is excellent and you want them to know you're a serious buyer. This should help, right? Dealerships make more money on financing than on the car. When you say you're paying cash, you've just told them they're losing the finance profit. Some dealerships will raise the car price to compensate. Others will lose interest in negotiating because you're a lower value customer now. Same with credit score. If you tell them you've got excellent credit before they run the numbers, you've removed their ability to mark up the rate and blame the bank. The bank came back at 7.2%. No, the bank came back at 5.5%, and the dealership added 1.7 in dealer reserve. That's the commission the bank pays the dealership for marking up your interest rate. But if you already told them your score is 780, they can't pretend the bank gave you a bad rate. Don't mention cash until after you've negotiated the price. Let them assume you're financing. Once the price is locked, then you say, "Actually, I'll be paying cash," or "I've already got financing through my credit union." On credit score, say nothing. Let them run your credit. See what rate they offer. Then compare it to the pre-approval you got from your bank last week, which you should have, and which you don't tell them about. Information is leverage. Keep it until you need it. Here's what all 6 of these phrases have in common. Every single one gives away your position before the negotiation even starts. The dealership wants to know 3 things: how desperate you are, how much you'll pay, and how much you know. Your timeline tells them desperation. Your budget ceiling tells them your maximum. Your enthusiasm, your credit score, your trade-in estimate, all of it tells them how hard they have to work. You don't have to lie. You don't have to be rude. You just have to stop volunteering the information they're trained to extract. The people on the other side of that desk were trained. You don't have to be. You just have to know what they were trained to ask and what not to answer. Never tell them your timeline. Never tell them you need the car. Never tell them you love it. Never lead with monthly payment. Never anchor your trade-in low. Never volunteer that you're paying cash or mention your credit score before they make an offer. You don't need to memorize all 6. Just remember this: the less you say, the stronger your position. Every question they ask is a question you don't have to answer right away. Let me think about it. I'll need to check on that. I'm still deciding. Those 3 sentences will save you thousands of dollars. You've worked your whole life for the money in your bank account. Nobody at a dealership worked for it. They didn't earn it. They don't get to take it just because they know what questions to ask, and you were raised to answer politely. You can be polite and still keep your cards. The two aren't in conflict. Before you walk into a dealership, do 3 things. 1. Get pre-approved for a loan through your bank or credit union. Know your rate. Write it down. Don't tell the dealer about it until after they make their offer. 2. Look up your trade-in value on at least 2 sites, Kelley Blue Book and Edmunds. Know the range. Don't mention a number first. 3. Practice saying this sentence out loud. I'm looking at a few options. Say it until it feels natural. That's your default answer to, "What brings you in today? And how do you like this one? And what are you thinking?" You're looking at options. That's all they need to know. Remember that salesman from the beginning? The one who asked what you're looking to spend per month? Now you know what that question really is. It's not small talk. It's the start of the negotiation. And the negotiation goes better when you don't answer it. Before you walk into that dealership, get that pre-approval from your bank. 30 minutes on the phone. That's the single most powerful tool you can bring with you. That's it. That's the video. Next, I'm going to tell you what actually happens in the finance office after you agree to buy the car, and the one sentence that stops most of it before it starts.